So, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all the participants from various parts of the globe. I, Simran Kashyap, am the Vice President of Confederation of Tourism Students India, and I would like to invite all of you. Thank you for attending the session on COVID-19, a silver on like smart tourism, a silver lining for COVID-19. So, before we begin, I would like to briefly introduce about our organization, the Confederation of Tourism Students India. The CTS India is an independent tourism student organization acting as a facilitating platform between the student community and the academicians and the industry. And without much ado, let us start the webinar for which we have received so humongous number of registration. And I would like to introduce Professor Buhalis, a man of many skills. And if we go to speak about all the achievements and the contributions of Professor Buhalis for the tourism industry, I think it will take us more than a day to discuss that in details. So I would just like to say thank you, Professor Buhalis, for being with us. He is the expert on technology in tourism and hospitality and leisure industry. He is associated with Bournemouth University for such long. He is the editor-in-chief of the most renowned tourism journal, Tourism Review. He has been associated with UNWTO, International Academy for Tourism Studies, and much more. And to have you addressing the tourism and hospitality students and the industry of India, Professor, thank you so much for accepting our invitation. And we really look forward to have a session. The student community was telling us, informing us, like we really look forward to have a class with Professor Buhalis. Our thing is coming true. Thank you, sir. And I would like to say one more thing, like when we were interacting with the students, your ex-students and all, we came to know your biggest, when we asked what is the biggest achievement you think Professor Buhalis is, they say that, he is a student's professor. He is the people's professor, for which, the way you help us to grow as a students and to learn. Thank you, Professor. Thank you so much. And over to you. We look forward for a really nice session. Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Great pleasure to be with you. I think it's the responsibility that we have got to make sure that the next generation of professionals will be a better generation of professionals than the previous one, and that will be able to start tourism in a way that can bring benefits to communities and in a way that it can enhance the livelihood of a lot of people. And I see that as part of my responsibility to bring this knowledge that I got over the years and share it with a lot of colleagues around the world in order to actually prepare the next generation to do that. Thank you for the invitation. It's a great pleasure to speak to you this morning. I'm in Bournemouth, so it's morning here. It's only 9:30. And I understand it's about 2 o'clock in India. What I'm going to do is I'm going to spend some time going through some slides very quickly. On the slides, obviously, I'm going to cover research that I've been doing for the last 30 years. And therefore, I'll give you a lot of reference for publications where people can go and see them. I'm recording this, so hopefully I'll be able to upload on my YouTube channel later on. So those people who have missed it, they'll be able to see it on YouTube. And also, you may like to play it for your students. Especially, I know a lot of universities are doing remote teaching right now and distance teaching. So I've uploaded a lot of lectures and a lot of material on my YouTube channel, so people can actually play them to their students and get more people to listen and get involved. If we are hacked with Zoom, I'll stop the meeting and we'll come back again. It has happened before. I hope this time it's not going to happen. We are on a secure server. So let me share my screen and let me take you through the different things that I'm trying to do. Let me see can you see this? Yeah? Yeah, okay. Perfect. So I'm going to talk about smart tourism and then COVID, and then see some of the developments that they've emerged and how we can take things forward after COVID. smart tourism, those of you who have been following my studies and my research know that I'm dealing with how technology can support strategic management and marketing for tourism organizations and hospitality around the world. And it's all about looking into how smartness can help the tourism industry. Smartness takes advantage of the interconnectivity and interoperability of integrated technologies to re-engineer process and data and produce innovative services, products, and procedures towards maximizing the value for all stakeholders. What's very critical is that we are talking about all the stakeholders taking advantage of all the data and the processes that we've got in tourism and re-engineer all what we do towards bringing new products, co-creating new value, and bringing real-time services for all the stakeholders. So all the stakeholders can come forward, take advantage of the tools and the resources that we've got out there, and create agile solutions to generate value for everybody who is involved. Smartness is like a glue of interoperable and interconnected systems that bring all of the people together and manage all the people together to maximize the benefits. In order to have smartness, you need several tools, and the main tool that you've got is interoperable and interconnected networks. So networking is absolutely critical because the smartness and agility is really based on the Internet of Things and the Internet of Everything. Everything is connected, and we are getting a lot of information from sensors and beacons. We analyze them with data analytics, we do data mining, and we understand what's happening in real time from a whole range of different sources like social media, Web 2, user-generated content, to understand what is happening in the industry and what's happening in the world in that particular moment. That enables us to co-create experience, and that enables us to improve value for everybody who is involved in the tourism sector. You can see here, this is a publication I've done in Tourism Review. Normally, I don't publish as the editor-in-chief of Tourism Review. I don't normally publish in Tourism Review, but this is a paper that we did for the anniversary issue of 75 years of Tourism Review, and that includes all of the issues that we've seen in technology and tourism that has emerged from e-tourism to smart tourism and then to ambient intelligence tourism, and we will cover a lot of those things. So enabling technologies are moving very, very fast and gives us a range of innovations that they're coming forward. And then when you come to the marketplace, you have got on the one side, you have got the supply, on the other side, you've got the demand, and in the middle, you've got the marketplace where the magic happens. And we see some of the technologies that are coming there, like autonomous devices, location-based services, and context-based services, augmented reality and virtual reality, transforming the tourism industry as we know it, and bring it to a new level of interaction and dynamic engagement with everybody who is involved. Now, we talked about context, and context really is about internal context and external context. So internal context is what people like, their goals, their preference, their task, their emotional status, their abilities and disabilities, their topics of interest, their personal events, and their very approaches. This bit here is about consumers. And so far, most of the tourism organizations, they had services that they were more or less for everybody. Now, increasingly, we understand the power of personalization, individualization. And increasingly, we try to understand what people like and what kind of goals and tasks they've got and how they will be in a position to address their particular needs in this particular moment. Now, this is the individual who is traveling, and this is the external environment of what's happening. So there are things like season, there are political situations, there are locations, there are emergencies, there are strikes, there are weather, there's delays, air pressure, traffic, and light, and what's happening around the world. And all of those things are influencing what we are doing. So you can see conflicts around the world in different places, and you can see what's the impact on tourism. You can see what's happening in different locations, especially if you've got emergencies like, I don't know, earthquakes or any kind of crisis. But nothing has ever prepared us for something like COVID, because we've never experienced any crisis like that. And I'll talk about COVID in a minute. So SOCOMO brings together the internal context, that is the individual and the person who is actually managing things, and they've got needs and wants that they need to be addressed. And then you've got the external context, which all the external environment that's operating. On this side, you've got travelers. On this side, you've got the tourism industry. And this is where magic happens. And I call it SOCOMO, because you've got context-based co-creation that is based on mobile devices. And increasingly, it will be autonomous devices, like autonomous cars, and a lot of those machines, hardware that's going to be interconnected. And then you've got social media, where people are sharing information, and they are bringing information together to in real time about the destination. And some of these may be tourism related, some of these may be local residents, local people, that they are addressing their particular needs and interests, and therefore contributing to the locality and the context. Increasingly, I'm predicting that context will be one of the most critical elements of tourism. And you've seen now with COVID, a lot of people trying to understand the location and where it's safe to go and when it's not safe to go. And those things are very, very dynamic. So this is changing by the minute. So you can see that context, and external context in particular, drives a lot of value co-creation to address the needs of the internal context. Some of these things may be positive, so you may be the nice season, maybe, I don't know, when the flowers come out, you may have particular celebrations that are happening, or events like the Olympic Games or whatever, that it's addressing particular needs and requirements, and they need to be engaged. So this is what I call the smart tourism framework, where you've got on this side, you've got the tourism supply that is constantly creating data. And all this data is going up to the cloud, where you've got technology and value aggregators, data mining that information. And that comes as a storm of value to consumers, creating extra value and creating new products and enabling consumers to co-create the activities that they've got. And that is coming back as open data, that's come back as information and data back to the supply through open data platforms, to enable those people to change everything that they're doing and enhance everything that they're doing. Now, this framework is not new, in a way that we always had a product, went to the market, we looked into the product, we created some adjustments and went back and we improved the product. The difference with smartness is that you can collect information, you can collect data from wherever this data is coming. And at the same time, this is very dynamic. This is in real time, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And also it's changing dramatically very quickly. And the reason why it changed dramatically very quickly is that because you can put something in the marketplace as a product, you can send it to the consumers, and you can see what is the acceptance of this product. And then if the product is not appropriate, or it's not used, or people don't like it, it goes back as feedback, and then organizations can change that very, very quickly. The other things, because this is interoperable and interconnected, the packages that effectively go there and they go to the consumers can change dramatically. So you may have different organizations operating different packages, and they can constantly change and understand what's successful. And also they can understand geographically where something may be successful or may be somewhere else. So in India, for example, you've got so many different cultures, you've got different kind of regions, that they've got different different needs and requirements, and they've got different tastes, and some regions are vegetarian primarily, some other regions are not. And what you can do is you can look into packaging a lot of things on a micro segment and almost achieve personalization in real time. Smartness is not about technology. Normally when I speak, people are thinking about technology, but it's actually, technology is one of the inputs. The other input that's really critical is people and knowledge and human capital and social capital. And what really we found is a catalyst is leadership, in terms of the governance, and in terms of change management, and in terms of how you can manage those resources in real time to bring all of those resources together towards towards a value co-creation ecosystem, where on the one side you've got the smart economic actors, on the other side you've got the social actors, on the other side you've got the technological actors, all interacting very dynamically in order to create smart innovations, and eventually create a whole range of innovations like smart mobility, governance, economy, people living, and smart environments. And then on those innovations, you create smart tourism in terms of attractions, accessibility, amenities, available package activities, and ancillary services. So the system here operates together and dynamically, and what we need to emphasize is that it's not about technology, it's about bringing all those things together. Now, technology brings a whole range of different opportunities together, and you can see things that are coming in the marketplace. You can see things like the sharing economy that emerged recently as a major driver of a lot of value co-creation. We've done a research recently, and we've seen the dark side of the sharing economy, and we predict that the sharing economy is going to change in the way it goes, because it requires regulation and requires a strategy that needs to be that needs to ensure that the resources that they used belong to the right people, and also that we manage all the different actors in a way that's equitable and works for everybody rather than a few. And the other thing that we've seen, and this is some research we've done with Daisy Fan, is looking to how people have social contact when they travel. And we've seen, we've looked into different kind of people, and we granularized all the social contact, both online and offline. So this is where you've got offline social contact, this is where you've got online social contact. And the individual then is moving across destinations and in the trip, across the trip in a way that is maximizing their own benefit. When you look at that in more detail, we've done 6 typologies, 6 types of different travelers, from people who are detoxing from digital media and they are totally disconnected, all the way to the people who are totally connected. And we've got other people who are dual zone, that they can operate in many different zones. I'm a dual zone person. I can operate in many different zones at the same time using all kinds of technologies, and the diversionary traveler. So when we talked about technology adoption and smartness, we really need to understand that people are operating in very different ways when they travel. And we need to understand which kind of type do we trying to address. So those guys, they really value face-to-face value. Those guys, they value more digital contact, and they can operate in different ways when they travel. The next issue is real time, and something that I call nowness. And nowness is really important because normally in tourism, we used to plan in advance and then go and execute things. But now the speed of technology and the speed of life is changing dramatically. Nowness is really about understanding context in real time and adapting and changing the tourist product accordingly, based on location-based information, on mentions, on hashtags, on sentiment analysis, on trending topics, on keywords, on competitions and competitors, and what's happening in the location. Understanding geo information and geo-tagging and time tagging is really, really critical, especially in places where there's a high level of seasonality, and especially in places where resources are depending on the different kind of contextual kind of formation that exists out there. So now is becoming really, really critical, and it's based on real-time information, on co-creation, on data. It's data-driven, it's consumer-centric, and really looking to enhance experiences. Normally it's triggered by some real-time triggers that they start changing the external environment. Then people are assessing the contextual relevance, and then once we understand what's happening now in real time, we start looking to how real-time service enablers can actually come forward and improve the value that's being created for consumers, for brands, and for potential consumers, and also for local residents. I think this is one of the most critical elements of how tourism is going to emerge in the future, because when you understand real time and you are willing and able to adapt your product and service, it enables us to customize, individualize, contextualize value and to enhance the customer experience. And then my last concept on technology is ambient intelligence. And ambient intelligence introduces smart systems to everybody environments, propelling interconnectivity and interoperability of all systems, vehicles, and devices through the Internet of Things. So ambient intelligence means that technology is everywhere. It's collecting information and looking into information in real time. And then we use artificial intelligence, machine learning, ambient connectivity through wide area Wi-Fi's and 5G, autonomous vehicles and robotics. And all of those things are collecting information constantly. So when you're driving the car or the car is driving itself, it's collecting information about the speed and the condition of the road. It's looking to which piece of the road they may need improvement, sends a signal immediately up, and that signal is then transformed to the people who are fixing the roads. It also gives you, it updates you constantly with what's happening on traffic, and that gives you alternative and better routes. All of those things are based on the understanding that we've got a whole range of different sensors and beacons. We're collecting information, we analyze information, we're learning from the information. So we understand the patterns of activity and understand how to operate it. And then ambient intelligence is pushing markets and activities towards smart, interconnected environments and marketplaces towards maximizing their value. Ambient intelligence is primarily based on mobile in terms of portables or wireless, networked, sensitive and secure intelligence, and then it's pervasive, it's ubiquitous, it's interactive, it's interoperable, it's distributed and scalable. And it's ambient in terms of it's embedded everywhere, it's context aware, it's personalized, that it's adaptive and anticipatory. Anticipation is really, really interesting, because now we are going towards cognitive cities and smart cities and cognitive cities, which are thinking cities, and they're thinking organisms that they are developing services before customers realize that they need them. So where we're going is in a situation where we can understand what are the requirements of consumers before the consumers get in a position to actually understand for themselves. And this is the anticipation thing. We know that if it's raining, you need an umbrella. And we know when it's gonna rain because we have got weather forecasts. So what happens is that we give you an umbrella before you need an umbrella. So we warn you that, that you will need an umbrella because a storm is coming. Or we warn you to avoid an area because we know that the traffic is building. and things like that. And what we have is increasingly we've got what we call H-to-H interaction and human-to-human interaction. And this is all the interactions that you've got between business, governments, consumers, employees, interest groups, local residents, and eventually here we start including machine interactions with robots and machines, because all of those things are collecting information and all of those things are interchanging information in real time, maximizing the value. So ambient intelligence is really about how we can add value to these guys based on the Internet of Things, the Internet of Everything, fifth generation mobile and networking, RFID, mobile devices and smartphones, applications, cryptocurrency and blockchains, sensors and beacons, pervasive computing, gamification, and artificial intelligence and machine learning. All of those things are coming together to maximize the value that we've got in the marketplace and the blending of tourists with the local communities. I'll stop here to see if there is any questions. I'll pause for a moment. So if you have got any questions, please put them on the chat, and I'll then bring things. I don't think we can take questions verbally. I think let's put them on the chat, and then I'll answer all of those questions on the chat. Okay.
Yeah, Professor, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Actually, in the form, we have already received a good number of questions that are with us. The participants have sent us. So we'll be addressing those questions. Suneet, the president of Confederation of Tourism Students, he will be handling the question and answer moderation round, so that he will be asking you the questions the participants have sent. And we can
You'll do at the end?
Yeah, sir. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
And, yeah, that is. Thank you, Professor, so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
So this is the smart element. And then the next element is really what's happening with COVID. And because COVID has brought tourism to the ground zero. It's a crisis unlike other. We had a lot of crises in tourism over the years. And we're very good in tourism in handling crises. But this is a crisis unlike any other, because the situation is that we do not know when it's going to finish, and it's not predictable. So any situation that we had in the past, let's say an earthquake, normally an earthquake takes place for a number of minutes. We know then there's a period before and a period after, and then let's say within a week we have got a clear kind of situation what's happening on the earthquake, the damage it has done. We need to look after the victims, and we need to improve the infrastructure in order to be able to do things. When we had September 11 lasted for about 4 hours, and then it took us a week to kind of sort out what's happening, and then took a lot of time to bring the customer confidence back and bring people in and change security measures and change the industry structures and go and operate again. With COVID, the situation is quite more complicated because we don't know when that's going to finish. So this invisible enemy has actually killed our industry for the time being. It hasn't only killed tourism, it has killed all the economy around the world. So the damage is phenomenal, and the damage is affecting absolutely everything, including car manufacturing, including clothing, including the financial sectors, insurance, and all the rest of it. Now, as of yesterday, we had 23.4 million cases of COVID. We had 800,000 deaths, almost 809,000 deaths around the world. And you can see here which are the countries that they've suffered most from death. There is a geographical element to that because COVID started from China, obviously came over to Europe and then went to the US, and now it has gone down to Latin America, and then it has gone to South Africa, and now it's hitting you in India. So in India, you've got, as of yesterday, from the official statistics, you've got 56 0.8 thousand people who have died, and you've got 3 million people who have got COVID. All those statistics are relevant, but you need to understand where we are in terms of the development. As of the 27th of August, this is the Financial Times information. You can see which countries have suffered most. And obviously, the bigger the country, the more suffer they had. Although China managed to kind of contain the virus quite early. And then some countries like the US and Sweden have not managed actually to manage the virus very well. And you can see what's happening in different countries. I'm very proud of Greece, my country of origin, that has got about 250 people who have died, comparatively much lower than a lot of other places like the UK, where I live, where a lot of we have suffered a lot of deaths. And you can see in the US and where it hits most, and you can see that some of these areas, they operate in different kind of ways. And it's interesting to see the geographical spread of coronavirus, because you can understand the context that's behind there, and you can see how we can better predict and how we can better protect ourselves. What is sad is that from a situation that we had a peak in April, where we've got 6.7 thousand deaths, it's kind of growing up again, and we've got 5.6 thousand deaths in August. So what's happening is that in many places in the US and in Europe, it is summer, so people were able to go outside and not meet other people inside, and that has actually reduced the spread of coronavirus. What is happening that the winter is coming back, we may have problems when people are moving indoors. And this is something else that we are looking at. It's the excess deaths. And the excess deaths is how many more people have died from the average of the last 5 years. And that's something that we need to look at in a little bit more detail. We hope that the vaccine is going to come forward very soon. This is the situation on the 20th of August. These are the major vaccines that they are on phase 3. The Russian guys have announced that their vaccine is already ready and it's authorized for use. There's question marks about that, but this is the get out of jail card that we're going to have. This is Bournemouth last Easter, last year, Easter 2019. A lot of people went to the beach and we had a fantastic time. And this is Bournemouth in Easter 2020. The impact is significant, and you can see this happening around the world. You can see that COVID actually destroyed our growth, and although 2020 was supposed to be an excellent year for tourism, COVID has actually stopped all the activity and has created major problems. A lot of planes had to stop traveling. A lot of companies had to send messages to say and do demarketing, say, please do not come, stay where you are, and we need to bring the situation under control. This is British Airways flights, British Airways aircraft parked in Bournemouth Airport, where a lot of the flights were cancelled, and a lot of the planes had to be taken away to parking positions in places where they had space for them to be there. And I came forward very, very early on a whole range of activities, and I'll show you in a minute. And I talked about the need for humanity, solidarity, leadership, and resilience. And the WTO came up with the travel tomorrow, stay home today, travel tomorrow. And we looked into those things as a way to see us through COVID, So we need to exercise humanity, we need to exercise solidarity, we need leadership, and we need resilience for this industry to come back and use all the smart tools that we talked about earlier in a way to bring us back to normal. But I think one of the things that was very, very clear to me from very beginning was solidarity meant that what can the tourism and hospitality industries do for our communities rather than what the communities should do towards tourism and hospitality. That's why I never subscribed to save tourism or save travel kind of hashtags. It was not about saving tourism or travel, but it was how tourism and travel could save communities around the world. And WTO came up and said, look, the tourism needs solidarity, commitment, and support to be able to go forward. I started very early on my blog, and I started calling Brace, Brace, Brace to prepare the tourism industry, in particular in Greece and the UK, to take care and prepare for a very difficult situation. I predicted from beginning of March that the situation, especially this summer, will be dramatically difficult. And I try to prepare tourism professionals and hoteliers to manage the situation in a way that they can show solidarity and they can help themselves. I think one of the most critical results is that we see from COVID is that we're moving away from me to we. So we need to be doing much more as a society for each other rather than for our egoistic selves. And this is the COVID-19 tourism hospitality response framework that I created that's addressing things during the pandemic. So one was to protect people and making people first for ourselves and codependents, staff and employees and collaborators, through a whole range of security and safety measures, food and medical supplies, cleaning equipment, and providing support. And then as far as consumers were concerned, we talked about communication, empathy and sympathy, relationship management, cancellations and refunds, and enable them and re-inviting them to dream and come back forward later on when the situation was better. One of some of the community support measures was, the first one is to give blood and save lives. So if I want you to remember something from today, is that I would like you and your students to go to your local hospital and donate some blood and save lives. I think this is the most critical thing that we should do for the time being. And since we are not medical professionals, this is the thing that we need to do. My mother recently was very ill until she died, and I've just came across how critical it is for everybody to give blood and to make sure that that we've got sufficient blood in our hospitals to be able to deal with all these medical things. Blood is something that you cannot really buy. It has got to be donated by people, and I think I'd like to invite all of you, please, to go and give blood in your local hospital. Then the tourism and hospitality industry had a lot of expertise and a lot of facilities like accommodation, convention centers. We had cars that they were sitting, rent-a-cars sitting in parking spaces. We had accommodation places. We had food and beverage and essential supplies. We had medicine and medical equipment. We had cleaning equipment, and we could provide child, partner, and parent care, because we are service people. So a lot of professionals, tourism professionals, went into hospitals to provide first aid facilities, to provide process of COVID checking and taking advantage of their knowledge in looking after individuals. And then the health professionals, they needed help because they were on the hospitals. We had key workers that they were very critical for our supply chains, and we had communities that they needed help, especially elderly, disabled, poor, and marginalized. I know in India you are looking after your elders and your parents and your grandparents. In a lot of other countries in the world, it's not like that. So communities had to get together and to provide support and help to a lot of those communities. Give blood, save lives. Some of the examples that we've seen where people were kind of doing all kind of heroic activities to help others. And this is the Feed NHS initiative with a lot of restaurant chains that came together. Hilton provided accommodation. There are some companies in London, one that's called Blue Orchid that belongs to a good friend of mine, Tony Matheru, that provided an incredible amount of support for organizations, the NHS, the National Health Service, and health organizations. And a lot of restaurants start cooking for the people that they needed from the National Health Service, and also all these different kind of players. And this a little restaurant in Rhodes in Greece that's called Tomarouli, the lettuce. It's a vegetarian restaurant, and what they did, it started a community service. So they were cooking about 200 meals per day, and they were leaving it outside the restaurant in a particular time for everybody to come along and take what they need. So it says, help yourself, take whatever you like. And then that created an initiative where a lot of other people were bringing them raw materials like pasta, oil, and beans, and all the things that they were cooking, in order to cook that material and provide that as meals to the people who needed. So the community got together to improve what they're doing. I did a couple of things. One, apart from doing lectures and helping the industry to understand what's happening, we did with a friend, Kyrios, we did the 360 Tourism Solidarity, which we were recording everything that that people were doing as a matter of solidarity from the tourism industry. And we had different kind of people. My hero is Captain Tom, that he went on to generate about £3 million for the NHS. And we did that with some other friends. We created the World This Is Our Greece, and with the hashtag Our Greece, to promote Greece to the world by bringing pictures from Greece and inviting people to go to Greece and enjoy what we think it's our Greece, not the official kind of advertising, but a crowdsourcing campaign to bring together images and showcase what we see as Greece. I think solidarity was absolutely critical during this period, and now India, that is on a higher kind of alert because of COVID, I think you'll probably take advantage of a lot of those things. And you've seen initiatives everywhere. So you can see the Italians that they were locked in for about 4 months, how they managed to keep their community spirit and keep their mental health going. And you had people improvising to be social and engage in different kind of things. And that's another thing that happened in Italy that was solidarity. They had these baskets where people could go and leave anything that they could spare for people that they needed, and other people that they needed, they went to take there. So if you can put something in, please put it inside. If you cannot and you need something, take outside. So it's the communities came together to share resources. When you look into tourism, I think we need authentic leadership, and leadership begins from a different kind of questions. And you are students of tourism, and you are primarily the future leaders, but you can see what you can do now when you have got all this spirit that is inside you. And it's about replacing the blame with how can I be responsible? What can I do to develop these things? And I'm not going to play this video. This is Arne Sorenson, the Marriott Chief Executive Officer, who came forward and he talked about the situation, and he explained to his associates what what the Marriott hotels were doing to take things forward. But I developed this kind of slides based on Captain Sully, who managed to land or actually water this plane in Hudson River in the US. And Captain Sully is an incredible guy who had about 210 seconds, 3 minutes, to get the plane with no engines safely on the water. And he managed to save 155 people in the Hudson River in New York. And I would like you to watch this video later on because we need to learn from Captain Sully on what people can do in this kind of emergency, and to learn from his leadership on how we can operate the crisis. Because the only certainty is uncertainty. We know that the crisis is going to happen and we cannot control it, but we really can control how we prepare for it and how we engage the different resources and different people together. Now, the good news for those of you who are on this call and those of you who are still working is that we're still alive. We are not part of this unfortunate statistics of people who have actually suffered from coronavirus. And we are able to actually move on with life. When you segment the markets, you see 5 normal market segments. So this is the anxious hermits and the COVID impacted. So they are super cautious people. This is the COVID cautious, that they are aware of what's happening and they're really, really careful about what's happening. You've got the pragmatic policy supporters, and then you've got the life goes on people. This is the segmentation that BDRC has created to showcase what's happening with COVID. I created a different segmentation as far as tourism is concerned. And I said 1/4 of the market is shielding. They're staying away because they may have issues. Then there's a market that is, there's a segment in the market that people who have lost their income or they've lost their jobs and they are in a very, very difficult situation. Then I had the smart people that they're looking constantly, what's the up-to-date real-time information, making decisions. And then you had the kamikazes. And the kamikazes were people who will go out and they will actually do activities without taking care and without necessarily believing on COVID. I think we need to reignite tourism in a different way, but we need to recognize that we're not going to go where we were before, but we're departing for a new destination where we have got a new future, and the new future will be slightly different from the past. So therefore, looking at the past is kind of irrelevant. It's really, we need to look forward in the future, and we need to understand what our customers will need and how we can engage with our customers in the future. We are very blessed because COVID has not destroyed any of our assets. It has stopped us doing activities, but we still have our products, our branding, our co-creation, and to create experiences with local residents and to make sure that we've got differentiation and authenticity. So in a way, I see COVID as an opportunity to stop and reflect a little bit and see what we can do in the future and see how we can do better things in the future. Now, a lot of governments have asked me, local and national governments have asked me, what can you do in this situation? And I don't think there's one way of dealing with that. I think it's a much more complicated kind of process. And I think during the crisis, I gave you the structure for during the crisis. But I think to restart, we need to look into human strategies and how we can bring people and talent back into business, and how we can recreate our ecosystems. We need money strategies in terms of loans and help with capital. Operation processes in terms of safety, process, staffing, and operations. Product proposition in terms of re-engineering what we offer. How do we deal with our customers and the value proposition? We've got distribution and pricing in terms of creating omni-channel strategies. we've got strategic and competitiveness response in terms of real time, in terms of structure, in terms of value co-creation, in terms of re-engineering of the tourism product, and in terms of crisis management and resilience. And then you've got destination strategies in terms of smart ecosystem and agility. You've got infrastructure, multimodality and accessibility. And then you've got the classic kind of resources, sustainability planning, capacity and the multipliers kind of things, the clusters and the training and the risk management, the crisis management. This is nothing new. We're doing it before, but now we need to do it on steroids. We need to expedite the way we're doing these things, and we need to ensure that all of those things are operating in a better way. When you look into destinations and companies, we cannot say that any destination is safe, but we can say we're COVID ready. And COVID ready means that we need to look into smart protocols, process, ecosystems, and agility to make sure that we use smart tourism disciplines and tools and methodologies to ensure that we can address the COVID challenge. We need to follow the hygienic protocols, and we need to understand very specifically what we can do with consumers. And we need all the real-time information, context-based information to be available in order to make decisions. I think the new normal will reignite tourism, refocus, redesign, and re-engineer tourism to the new kind of normal. And we need to look very closely what we're doing before, and to explore how we can redesign what we're doing before in order to make sure that we re-engineer what we do and we take advantage of the developments. Now, I'll show you very quickly some technologies that are coming in to help us with COVID. This is not a final list, but some of the ideas that we've got from around the world. So smart tourism is based on smart technology. This hotel icon in Hong Kong that I'm collaborating with, that they're using scanners to make sure that they've got temperature checks for all the guests who are arriving and all the staff that they're arriving, and they're using all kinds of protocols to make sure that all their guests are very happy. When you analyze the process for every facility, we need to see how we can minimize human touch, and how we can increase distance. I know that in tourism we don't normally do that, because in tourism we hug and we invite our guests, and we hope that they're going to have a very good human touch. But the situation is that we need to take precautions. So the more we analyze what we do in every facility, and the more we're using technology to create touchless experiences, the better it is. So a lot of companies came up with mobile touchless applications to help people do everything from their mobile in terms of ordering, in terms of engaging different things. You've got this kind of UV disinfecting machines that they're going around and they're cleaning. You've got fogging machines that they're cleaning from the virus. And then a lot of issues are related with track and trace, and it's understanding who has been where with whom, and who has actually passed the virus to whom. And this a lot of applications that came on mobile phones in terms of corona maps to look into where we are going, who do we get in contact with, and how we can protect ourselves and others. And some applications, and especially in China, they were giving the clear to individuals to make sure that they had the passport to go out. And then the next thing is service robots that you can see helping us reignite tourism. And some of these are programmed to do more heavy work, but others may be able to help us with hospital work, in terms of going to where we don't necessarily want humans to go and infect themselves, and do some of the actions that humans would normally do. This is a very interesting robot operation machine that one of my friends is operating, and it's much more accurate and much less invasive than when an actual doctor is doing the operation. So the doctor is handling the machine to do a very specific operation. We see a lot of robotics coming into the tourism industry in different kind of ways, and some of these may help us reduce human touch, especially during the period of COVID, to help us reignite tourism. Obviously, you don't want to be served by this robot. You prefer to be served by a normal, a nice, smiley human, which can give you contextual information. But we can see robots coming into service to complement a lot of the things that we are doing. And you can see robots delivering things. And normally when I say these things, people are kind of thinking that, okay, that's a long time in the future. This is the new Century Grand Hotel, and this robot was following me everywhere. So I decided I'll make friends, and we had some conversations. So my friends, I think it's time to plan for the worst and hope for the best. It's time to take advantage of technologies where these technologies are available, and it's time to think on how we can actually reignite tourism and redesign and re-engineer tourism in a way that we can maximize the benefits for everybody and the communities. I keep saying that it's not about technology, it's really about how we can take advantage of the tools to maximize the benefits that we've got for humans. I've covered a lot of things in a very short period of time, and I apologize for that, but a lot of this research you'll find on those publications that I welcome you to read and entertain, because it gives you all the background on the things I was talking about. And this is where you find me when you like to find me. Basically, if you look into buhalis.com, you can find a lot of updates and new things. You can look into my blog and my Twitter, my LinkedIn, my Facebook, and my WeChat. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor, so much. It was really a very informative session that we have had. And so would you like to take a break for a few minutes because you have been staying, or we can
No,
start?
I'll just have a glass of water and then I'll take your questions.
Surely, yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah, in the meantime, I would just like to say to the participants, like we have been receiving few queries, like they are not able to join. So we apologize for that, and we'll be sharing the link of the YouTube to all your email IDs so that you can attend the session. And Suneet is there online. He is the president of Confederation of Tourism Students. And Suneet, can you unmute yourself, please? You're not able to unmute
yourself. Let me do that. Okay, let me do that.
Yeah.
Wait. Yeah?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you fine.
Yeah. So he'll be taking forward with the question and answer round. And okay, so we can start, Suneet. You can take over.
Good morning, Professor Buhalis. That was a really good session. We request all the participants to put your questions in the chat section. Meanwhile, when I start asking questions to Professor, which we got through the registration forms. The first question we ask is, do you think, do we need a specific definition for a destination to be, do you need a specific destination? I mean, a specific definition if you want to implement smart tourism on any destination, because smart tourism can be different to a different city. It won't be similar to all the destinations that we have. It can vary from city to city. So, do you think a specific destination will justify to implement that concept?
Look, smart tourism is really about a methodology of doing tourism in a different way. So smart tourism is really about bringing, optimizing networks effectively. So you optimize the tourism network, and by using all kinds of technologies in a way that you can maximize the benefits for. So it's a methodology. Now, where do you implement it? You can implement for a very local kind of level. Then, absolutely tiny kind of area, and then goes to local, then goes to regional, then goes to national, and then goes to international. With COVID, we really need to understand geography very well. And we need to understand not only the geography of where it's happening, but also the geography of where people are and what they do. So if you had an outbreak in a particular place, let's say in, I don't know, let's say in New York, right, where we had a big thing. If a lot of New Yorkers then went on holiday or they went to escape to Florida, then you're moving to Florida. And then when they go back to New York, they may bring different things up. So what we need to do is we need to look all the movements and track and trace individuals and to see where people have actually been and what have they done. So smartness enables us to connect all the different players to provide real-time information and engage them with all the other people that they've got together. So if you've been in a restaurant and 10 cases have been in a restaurant together, you know that who has ever been in that restaurant, they may have had a higher percentage of possibility to actually contract the virus. So smartness is a methodology to actually do a lot of applications and it gives us the infrastructure to actually deal with COVID in a clever way.
Professor, when we talk about over-tourism, let's see I'm talking about over-tourism. Let's see the example of Barcelona or Venice or Amsterdam. They are really suffered with over-tourism. But if you take in case of Barcelona, they are doing good in terms of smart tourism application and implication at the city level. But why do you think they are not able to control over tourism through the smart city?
Well, if you follow what I've been studying, publishing, and talking about, you will see that I don't believe in over tourism. There's no such a thing as over tourism. Okay. And I think you clever guys, you're students of tourism, you should never use the word over tourism again. It's badly managed tourism and it's exceeding current capacity, and it's really about creating situations where people are uncomfortable with the level of tourism they've got. That doesn't necessarily mean, because when we are talking about over tourism, the next thing you say is, can you reduce tourism, please? I do not want to reduce tourism. I want to manage tourism in a clever way that everybody who participates maximizes the value out of tourism. And it's a different conceptual kind of engagement. So Barcelona, which I know very well and I go very often, has had situations where they exceed their current capacity, particularly when things happen that they are related either with the exhibitions or with the cruising, when there are two cruise ships arrive at the same time, and a lot of people would like to do exactly the same thing at the same time. So in that kind of situation, we really need to manage the distribution of people in the territory and in the time. That's why real time is really critical. So to enable people to maximize their enjoyment out of the situation. Okay. So it's really critical to understand what we're talking about when we are managing resources and capacity. So you are not allowed to use the word over tourism again, okay?
Yeah, that was good. So now, because of the COVID situation, a lot of virtual tourism and virtual tour has been coming up. Many of the destinations have opened their windows for virtual tours on the websites and on the internet. Do you think that will be the future for quite a long time?
I think the recovery time is going to take a while, and I think we need to, there are two stages. One is until we find a cure and a way to reduce the impact of COVID on people. And the second issue is when we've got the vaccine. And I think this is really, really interesting to understand how we can help the vaccination most of the population. So one is to discover the vaccine. The second is to produce the 7 billion doses that everybody can be vaccinated. I think this will drive the timings of how we are going to address the COVID.
So you said basically smartness or smart tourism is more kind of a methodology that we can develop at any destination. But when the host community is not positive about the smartness change, what will be the situation? But still,
well, host communities have got agents, and maybe not everybody that will be able to use these facilities. But the new generation, most of the new generation is already very, very closely engaging with technology. So it may be your grandmother may not be able to use technology, but you'll use technology for her. So what we've found over the years is that younger generation was booking tickets, for example, for the older generation. And what's happening is that the change and the new society will emerge from the new generation, people like yourselves. That's why we need to invest in your kind of generation, to be able to understand what are the big issues, how we can save the environment, what can we do for sustainability, and how can you use technology in order to maximize the benefit that we have from everybody. This is not only for tourism, but tourism is driving wealth creation and poverty alleviation.
So my next question is, the European Union has started the Smart Tourism Capital Initiative, the EU Smart Tourism Capital Initiative. How do you think other countries and states can take this as a model, and how they can develop such kind of competition in their own countries? Do you think
I think you see smart tourism initiatives everywhere. And I think there's one thing that we expect the government or the international organization to do smart tourism for us. But there's also another way of building smart tourism up from communities. So the young people who are clever and they're using technology, they can do initiatives to bring all of those things together, and they can create networks in their own territory to manage the resources that they've got. So I invite all of you, wherever you are. I mean, we started this thing in Greece with our Greece. We started with a group of about 100 people, and I welcome you to go and have a look on the hashtag Our Greece and see how we are promoting Greece. And I also welcome you to do the same thing for your own country, your own region. So it may be our New Delhi, or it may be our India. So there are a lot of things that you can do to actually create the networks where smartness is created. Smartness is not a technology that you buy from the shop. It's something that you create. It's a thinking process, and it's an intellectual kind of exercise to enable people to engage in all the resources and to bring together all the technologies to help the communities, all the communities. Again, that's really critical on smartness, is really looking after all the communities and all the stakeholders in terms of enabling the stakeholders to be part of the ecosystem and co-create value for them.
Like, if we talk about tourism resilience, in most of the tourism courses right now, there's no much stress on tourism resilience teaching, particularly if you see in India. Like, do you think that would be important in the near future to incorporate tourism resilience modules in the tourism education?
Yes, I think so. Resilience is critical. And in Bournemouth University, we've got the Center of Resilience and Crisis Management. We need to be able to manage crisis better. And let's face it, in India, you've got a lot of crises very often. You're a huge population. And by definition, since you have got such a big population and such a diverse kind of population, in a very interesting kind of territory and geography with a lot of different players around you, you'll have inevitably a lot of crises. And the crises that you've got in big countries, in big territories, have got bigger impacts. So it's inevitably that you look into smartness and resilience as part of your curriculum. And you don't necessarily need to wait for your university to actually create that. You really need to educate yourself there are a lot of resources out there. You know, if you go on my website, you'll find a lot of publications and a lot of things that you really need to engage yourself with and educate yourself. But I think gradually most of the universities, they're using more technology and more resilience on their curriculum in order to prepare their students for the future.
Okay, Professor, now I think we can look up to the chat section and we can answer the questions from the viewers or the participants.
Okay. I've got a very nice feedback. Thank you very much for all of you who sent such a wonderful messages. Razul Karim says, I've got a question regarding smart tourism and use of technology in the industry. As hospitality industry is based on human hospitality and warm touch, as well as human behavior. Does the technology will be able to impact such services to guests? This is a normal question I get all the time, and you are absolutely right. What technology does, it doesn't take away human touch, it enhances human touch. Because if you understand what I like and what I don't like, you may be able to offer better services to me as a customer. And therefore, the human interaction becomes better. So technology should not take away the human touch, but it should enhance the human touch by making us understand better what are the requirements of the customers and engage in them. So sometimes I would like a quick answer. For example, how can I get a taxi? And I don't necessarily want to speak to someone about it. I just need the taxi. Some other times I'd like to speak to someone about what's happening in the community and how you can engage with the different kind of things. And I think we really need to understand what is the context and in real time and how we can use technology to actually address the needs of consumers. I'm going down with questions. How can smart tourism become more relevant in developing destinations? Smart tourism is really critical for developing destinations because you've got all the technological tools that are available for free, which you will not be able to pay in the analog world. So, for example, advertising. You can use all kind of social media. You can use all kind of techniques to advertise tourism destinations and tourism facilities more or less for free, while in the past you wouldn't be able to pay for marketing advertising on very expensive media. And smart means cost efficient as well. So it's all about knowledge and cognition and learning very quickly what's happening. So that's why smart tourism will primarily help developing destinations to take advantage of all the resources out there. So someone is talking, Kersey is talking about storification and how you can simplify research into stories for better understanding. Of course, storification it's a very effective technique of promoting destinations and tourism products. And you really need to look into what is the real stories that are happening and the authentic stories that are happening at destinations, and how can you use all kind of media like Instagram, like Facebook, like Twitter, like Pinterest, to actually storify situations, storify businesses, storify activities and experiences that are happening at the destination, to make sure that everybody can be part of this. The next question is, how can a mountains destination adopt smart tourism systems? Can we intervene in nature-based destinations with technology that easy? Smartness is not about a technology. Smartness is really about taking advantage of systems that they exist out there and making sure that you've got the network operating together and the network operating together to manage resources and to manage experiences. And it can apply anywhere, to mountains or to coastal areas or wherever, because it's really about engaging people. So let's say that you've got a hotel on a mountain and skiing or whatever, and that hotel creates that hotel collects all the information from the local area, and then it distributes that information to everybody who is interested on the area. There is a low impact, environmental impact of smartness, and it's a very high impact in terms of interconnecting, networking, creating ecosystems that they can operate. Will not the intervention of use of technology massively affect the experience of tourists? That's from Professor Samrat Swain. Yes, it will, but a lot of, as you have seen on the paper we've done with Daisy Fan, there are different types of tourists. Some of tourists would like to have more intervention with local people and face-to-face interaction. Some tourists do not like that. But I think my contribution is, how can we actually use technology to enhance the interaction and enhance the experience of people? And I've done a lot of work on technology-enabled experience for tourists. How can I use technology that when I go through an Indian village, I understand better the history of the village, and I've got a historian really informing me reliably of what's happening, and not necessarily relying on a local guide to tell me what's happening, and how technology can show me little secrets, beautiful places that I would not normally see if I was going on myself. Will challenge in handling human resource, particularly employability, this technology can replace human resources to a large extent. Technology will replace routine operations, and it will challenge those people who are doing routine operations. Some of the old travel agents, they will remember the time that they used to write air tickets by hand, and they used to hand it over to consumers. I think a lot of those operations that they do not add value, they are not going to be sustainable in the future. I think technology will replace that kind of element of work, but technology does not have the human touch, and doesn't have the emotional intelligence to understand what consumers would like. So I think human touch will focus on understanding the context of individuals, understanding what individual wants proactively, and co-create value. And those jobs will be much more critical in the future, because we will use technology in the background to actually co-create value on the front ground and at the magic moment when we meet consumers. What's your view on gamification on tourism product services, especially for Generation Z? My book on gamification for tourism is about to come out. You'll probably see it in about 2 to 3 months. It's ready and it's a very nice book. Please buy it. It's a wonderful book. But in the meanwhile, you can see, have a look on Google Scholar, and you can see the papers I've done on gamification for tourism. And it's a very comprehensive kind of research that we're doing with my colleague Fei. And we're looking to how gamification can actually structure experiences. And I think it's a huge area that's emerging, where we can use gamification to actually guide people and create their experience with them and providing them all kind of support in a very pleasurable kind of way. How the distribution channel will work seamlessly when technology will be a dominating enabler or a tool. The distribution channel, there's omni distribution right now, and omni distribution means that we've got awfully a lot of channels that we need to look at. And the opportunity is that a lot of organizations, a lot of destinations can be on multiple distribution channels and reduce the dependency that they've got on very specific distribution channels like that we had before. So technology has revolutionized distribution totally, and not only on e-commerce and e-tourism, but also by bringing a whole range of tourism products in all kinds of social environments and at work environments. And I think agility and smartness will enable us to take advantage of the distribution channels to bring people forward to our products and services. So you may be on an OTA and you may promote your products and services on an OTA. And then based on that, you should create relationships with the customers who are coming from an OTA, and then make sure that the customers in the future will come directly to you. Because you have now created that experience, then you've got your CRM taking over, and then you engage with consumers online and offline in a way that the consumer is not generically looking to a distribution channel for products, but they're looking to your specific products because now you've got a specific relationship. So I think smartness and agility is taking advantage of all these networking technologies to revolutionize distribution. Distribution is something I've been doing for 30 years. And it's a very, very interesting, kind of area. I'm still going through questions. The use of technology, hospitality is based on human warmness and human behavior. I think we've seen this question before. Yes, hospitality is based on human touch, but how many times have I been in a situation or in a hotel that the local receptionist does not understand my English or does not understand my needs? And I quite often now, so recently I was in a place and the car I was driving had a flat tire. And I couldn't really explain to the receptionist that I needed a specialized garage that's fixing flat tires, because it's not a normal garage. So Google Maps showed me where the nearest was. I went there. I pointed the flat tire to the mechanic. He fixed it. Everything was done. So it doesn't necessarily mean human touch and human behavior. It's good when it's adding value, and that's what we need to concentrate on, adding value on that kind of human touch and adding value in that kind of interaction. And smartness enables that interaction to go at a different level, because both the customers and the suppliers have got resources that they can use to actually resolve issues. Can recession tourism be a way forward to destinations that are developing? I don't know what's recession tourism, but economic recession is going to hit us quite badly, and that's going to affect tourism. What happens during a recession normally is people are downsizing tourism. Tourism is becoming very inelastic expenditure. So what we find is that people do not stop traveling, but they may travel shorter distances or shorter periods of time or less times. So someone from London may not come to India on holiday, but they may go to Italy, or they may go to Greece, or they may go to somewhere else. And someone from India may not go to Dubai, but they may go to Kerala or wherever. So it may be a much more domestic tourism, especially in places that they've got a very large number of domestic tourism. So population is really critical, because when you've got a lot of people domestically, what they do is they normally shift. So what we find in the UK right now is staycation. People do not travel outside the country because they are afraid. What they do is they stay in the country and they come to Bournemouth, for example. From Bournemouth, they come, from London, they come to Bournemouth instead of going to Spain. So recession is going to change the patterns of tourism during recession, and will create opportunities for some organizations and challenges some others. Then Suzay Vikram is saying, what's the role of knowledge management in destination management? Knowledge management is really about looking to all the knowledge we've got in terms of data and processes. And I think smartness is looking to this data and analyzing the data and it's coming back to engage with destination management organizations to improve the value that they co-create. So knowledge management is a tool that is coming into smart tourism to make sure that we take advantage of all the knowledge we've got to ensure that we develop products and services that are better meeting the needs of the customers, and actually they are more resilient in the way they operate. I keep going. So Razal Karim, I think he sent me three or four times the same question. I think I've answered. How can smart tourism co-create meaningful experience for tourism and value for businesses? From Supriyanka Kovekar. I think I've explained that already. It's really about understanding the needs of the customers, and we need to look into the internal context. What are the customers in that particular? What are the likes and the needs of the customers, and also provide a real-time information about the needs of the customer. So, if you're traveling with your friends, you may be having one behavior. If you're traveling with your grandmother, you may have a very different behavior. If your grandmother happens to be on a wheelchair, you probably have a very different behavior as a traveler. So understanding the context of what you are doing, then proactively we anticipate the requirements that you have. And technology and smartness is connecting everybody together to go out and fetch this information and fetch this value to address the requirements of individuals at that particular moment. And I think that is the most critical bit on how smart tourism will create meaningful experience. It's really about understanding the context, and that's why I'm talking about SOCOMO, social media context-based and mobile tourism. And then it also understands real-time tourism in terms of understanding what is the context in this particular moment, because consumers have got different preferences and different likes and dislikes, as we said in the other paper on the typologies, and they engage in different places. So if I'm traveling, I wouldn't call reception, because Google is probably going to give me most of the answers in a way that I would like to understand. And then once I've done that, I may call reception. So you really need to understand who is the customer and what kind of experience can be co-created. There is a lot of fear about losing jobs due to overuse of technology. This is what Samir Baralis is asking me. Samir, there is an issue about, an issue about losing jobs. if the technology can provide a better service and value than consumer, than the service provider. The issue is how can a service provider provide a better service and create more value. Many of you may know my colleague Ian Yeoman, who is in New Zealand, and Ian and I, we share a passion for photography. So when Ian is traveling, he is not looking for any guide, but he is looking at photography guide. So he's employing local photographers to tell him what is the best place to take pictures and what time it's the best time to take pictures. This is a very specialized service, and Ian is paying quite a lot of money for that. That is not something that you can easily replace with technology because it's not scalable and it's very specialized kind of knowledge, and you need to add value. So I think those kind of jobs are those jobs that they'll be doing fantastically well in the future. And the jobs that they are going to disappear are the repetitive jobs of people who are, I don't know, check in, check out, or issue a ticket. Can you tell me where is the bank? All those things can be resolved very quickly with technology. And you shouldn't, you know, as the future of tourism, you shouldn't invest on those kind of jobs. You should invest on jobs that bring intelligence, emotional connection, and emotional intelligence, and adding value to your consumers. I think we see more or less similar questions. How social media can help tourism during COVID? This from Ganesha. I think social media is a very interesting one because it's a double-edged sword. If you've got good, useful information that's on social media from reliable sources, it can be very, very helpful to actually understand what's happening in real time in different places. And part of the smart ecosystem to help people develop the right kind of attitude and the right kind of strategies to address any challenges, including COVID. But social media quite often have got a lot of fake news from people who are not necessarily qualified to talk about different things. So I think the first thing, I'm obviously using social media a lot, and I think that they can add fantastic value. But I think the first thing that users need to do is to make sure which are the reliable sources, and make sure that they only follow reliable sources rather than everybody. And I think this is really critical for social media to be able to be helpful. So when you are creating information, make sure that the information you create is correct, and you've already checked it before, and also make sure that you follow the relevant people. So make sure that you follow authorities, that they understand what they're talking about, because there are a lot of people that they would like to explain their views, but that can be even dangerous if you're not doing the right thing. So connect with me on LinkedIn, for example, and I'm sharing a lot of information all the time that they're only coming from reliable sources. The feedback and the links, I'm going to send it to Simran to share with everybody, and it's also going to be on my website on buhalis.com, on my blog and my LinkedIn and my Twitter. I'm going to spread everywhere again the links of the YouTube and the public and the presentation. But it's really critical to look at the publications that are going with it, because this is where the research is coming from. There's another question about underdeveloped countries and what to do with smart tourism. I think I've answered this. There are some questions about blockchains, and this is something I don't really want to answer because I don't think I've got sufficient knowledge on blockchains. Again, social media, it helps if the social media and the information that's provided is reliable. I think it's really critical that you create your networks of social media with people that you trust. And I think you can create your own networks on Facebook or on Twitter or on WhatsApp to actually exchange information in real time. I think that's really the most critical thing on social media is the time tagging. Because you can find things on newspapers, you can find things on other media, but you do not know when this information was correct. What I really like on social media is it gives you a time tag. So you understand when was the right time. Have I answered all the questions? I think I have. Thank you very much, guys. I think we're going towards 2 hours. Is there any burning question or anything you'd like to add before we close this?
Yes, so there's one question that we have been getting. I think it's not a burning question, but maybe it's a hungry question. The question is, what is your favorite Indian food?
I like a lot of different kind of Indian food. But what I really like, and please don't tell anybody, it's naan bread with garlic.
Oh.
Which is the simplest and the nicest. But actually, if you have got naan bread with garlic, it's absolutely wonderful. And I like some of your seafood is absolutely incredible as well.
Okay, thank you, sir. I think it's time for the brunch and breakfast, so maybe we are getting that question also. And sir, one more question: when can we have you in India, sir?
I hope so. I have been to India about 20 years ago, and was a very interesting visit. And I was very fortunate when Mr. Lalit was still alive from Lalit Hotels. He had invited me from the Hotel Federation. He was the president of the Hotel Federation. He had invited me, and we did a big seminar. And coincidentally, it was the wedding of his daughter on that weekend, and he invited me to the wedding of his daughter, and it was the most astonishing experience ever. And a huge garden in New Delhi with a lot of food that he was managing the Continental Hotels at the time. So incredible food, incredible experience that I was very privileged to be part of. And that's the only time I was in India. So hopefully COVID is going to go away, and I'm going to be able to spend some time with you guys and share some information and look forward to develop your country into a world leader in tourism.
Yes, so we actually look forward to having you here. Maybe 20 years now, many things have changed. Many things, new things are there. We can show you many different varieties of naans are there that we can make you taste actually from that you would definitely like. And so on a serious note, actually, there is a lot to learn from you, the students. Since we are a student organization and we have been interacting with the students, there are a lot of students who are into research that they want to actually develop and learn. And so the learning opportunity is a lot for you, and really hope as an organization as to be in touch with you so that we can be, preparing ourselves to make, as we say, like in our organization when we discuss, we don't want tourism graduates to be just graduates. When we graduate, we want them to be as resources. Like when we have tourism resources, that is when we can be flourishing. That is what we as an organization are hoping. And thank you, sir, for being with us, accepting our invitation. And 2 hours is a long time that you have been interacting and taking all the questions so patiently from all of us. So maybe can I just request everyone to, put their videos on. Maybe we can have a picture, like a screenshot, so as a memory, so that it was the first interaction we had with you, if that is fine with everyone.
That'll be very good. I see you as the future leaders of the industry. And I think we really need to invest time with you, because you will be driving this thing in the future. And I think it's really critical that the better you are educated and the better you understand the major issues that we face, the better you're going to be able to take things forward. And I've got a question. Yes, it's the late Lalit Suri that I was talking about. Yes, and I met his wife actually some years back in Beijing, and Dr. Suri, and we were talking about this experience, and it was fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Namaste, sir. We'll keep in touch with you, and we hope to interact with you. I will message you on LinkedIn. We'll keep in touch, and the participants will send you the YouTube link and the feedback form, and we'll keep in touch. Inform us if we have. Thank you, Professor, for being with us, and we hope to have more session with you. Thank you so much.
Take
Bye-bye.
care. Good. Do good. Give blood. Give blood, save lives.
Yeah,
That's
that is
really
the one
good.
thing. Sorry, I forgot. Yeah, I would also like we would send in mails to everyone, like where they can be donating blood, so that it's a reminder. Thank you for like everything. Like that was a really good session. Thank you. Like personally, it was a very good session to be a student of yours for 2 hours, and we look forward for more session. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye bye. See you soon. Bye.